Etsy is launching a ton of new changes, and you need to move fast if you want to take advantage of this. Starting in Q4, they will be completely revamping how your listing appears in search results. Now, you may have already seen the email about search visibility and probably even saw it on your main Etsy page. But those aren't the only factors they're changing. There are a ton of new changes coming that people aren't even talking about yet. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do in order to take advantage of these changes so that you dominate in Q4. So let's not waste any time and get into this. Logging into Etsy last week, you probably saw this. And if you're like many of the people that emailed me, you're a little confused by everything that they listed. But like I said earlier, this is just a tip. There is a huge iceberg underneath all this. However, let me first cover some of the issues I was emailed about and exactly what this pop-up means. Then we can go into the changes that aren't even on anybody's radar yet. The big talk right now is shipping prices. Etsy wants you to lower your shipping price below $6, or starting in October, your visibility will be limited. This has a lot of people freaking out, especially if your item costs more than $6 to ship. But here's the good news. There's actually a loophole. Etsy states that your visibility will not be affected if you offer calculated shipping instead of a fixed rate. Now, I know many of you aren't going to like what I have to say, especially if you offer POD, but you have a month to do this. Buy your item, measure it, calculate the weight, and update your listings. Now, when I say buy your item, I don't mean buy it off of Etsy. That's shilling, which is illegal. Buy it from the POD provider like Printify. I know this may not be ideal for many of you, but it will ensure that your listing visibility is not restricted. And this will put you ahead of the people that are unwilling to go that extra mile. So really quick, let me just run you through how to make this change. So what you're going to do is just go into a listing and scroll all the way down to where it says shipping. And then once you're there, you're going to click add item weight and size. And this is going to be different for each one of your listings. So click that and then put whatever your listing is. Say 8 ounces, say it's 12 by 10 by 2. Then you're going to go into change. And when you go into change, you're going to create the new shipping option. You just have it right there. Calculate them for me. And that's it. That's all you have to set it up. Put your zip code in there, your processing time, and then the different mailing options that you want to choose. And it's as simple as that. Moving on, the next one was collages. Now, I received about 30 emails regarding this. And what's wild is each one was different. Some of the listings weren't even collages. They just showed the item front and back together. So I'm going to jump on Etsy and show you what may be restricted soon and how to avoid this. So I'm going to use coffee mugs and tumblers because those seem to have a lot of different collages, and what you're going to really want to do is have these single ones right here. See how it's single there, just one image of a coffee mug. As you scroll down, this one definitely will get flagged because that looks like a collage. And like I said earlier, showing the back and the front of things is getting hit. So this could be something right there, as well as this one is. And if you notice with tumblers, a lot of them have side by side, right? So this is something that you're not going to be able to do anymore. You really just need to stick with just one. And this is going to be flagged because it looks like a collage. The AI system is not smart enough to really pick up on that yet. They may maybe enhance it or add some different features for their AI to understand that when you have them side by side like that, it's not necessarily a collage. But for right now, things like this are actually getting hit because it's too many images side by side and they're considering it a collage. Next, we have dark images. So this one's crazy too. One email I received, the shop sells art, and the item was a nighttime art piece. So what does this mean? You can't sell night artwork anymore? No, that's not the case. There's actually a percentage of brightness that is now required. Etsy hasn't officially stated how much, but from messing around with different images, I found that 30% of the picture has to be brighter than the darker image. I know that this sounds very strange when I say it, so let me just jump on Etsy and I'm going to show you a couple examples. Now, the image too dark is not only going to just apply to wall art, it can apply to anything. But I'm just going to show you wall art because that's what the email that I received. And from messing with different images, that's how I found out that you need at least 30% brightness in that picture. So I'm just going to go through a couple of these and show you. So see this right here, it's dark, but it's got brightness around there. There's a lot of light in there. Same thing with this, right? But something like this is actually going to be restricted going into Q4 because you have a dark image, gold, and a dark image behind it. This one here, you do have the couch, which brings in the light, right? Scrolling down a little bit more, this isn't too bad. You do have the desk. That one's an iffy situation. Could go either way. This right here, a lot of dark in there. This chair is not going to be enough. It's not going to be a 30% like I tested. So that's something that you have to watch out for, is making sure that there's at least 30% brightness in that image to ensure that it does not get flagged and you lose your visibility. Okay, now that that's covered, let's get into the unknown changes. Etsy launched 16 new articles on the 28th, and only 2 or 3 of those articles actually have created any buzz. I want you to understand, Etsy doesn't just write articles for fun. These articles are quietly telling you what you need to start working on and updating on your listings. Like this one about attributes. Adding attributes has always been a thing, but most people don't actually even use them. It's never affected your visibility, but I think that's all about to change. One of the articles says, since each attribute you add acts like a tag and helps you match with shoppers' searches when they use matching terms, it's important to add all the relevant options, even if they're less precise. It goes on talking about what words to use and then ends with a link to an entirely different article. And that article just launched, only talking about attributes. This article goes into great detail about how to use them and how the consumer will benefit from them. And at the end, it states, remember, your tags, titles, categories, and attributes all work together to match your listing with the shopper's searches. So I would start adding those to each of your listings. Next is your description. Now, back in 2019, when I first launched an Etsy store, the first sentence of your description was very important. And most people would actually just put the title at the top of their description. I'm not kidding. They would literally just copy and paste it. And after 2020 hit, this was all changed and it wasn't as important anymore. By 2021, the description was off to the right and minimized. They even changed it on the app. They legitimately hide it, which is why most consumers don't ever see it. But that all seems to be changing soon. In several of the articles they released, it states Etsy's search considers keywords and phrases within your listing descriptions when ranking your listing. It goes on to say, aim to incorporate relevant keywords in the very first few sentences of your listing. Avoid copying your title verbatim or simply listing your top keywords. Instead, you want to craft a sentence or two that casually incorporates a few of your top keywords in a way that sounds human and written in your brand's voice. Now, I just want to stop there for a second. When it says human, the AI can actually detect when it's written by ChatGPT or Gemini. So that's a very big word that stood out to me, which in my opinion, the AI system that they have in charge of this is probably going to cipher out which one's humanized and which one's just created by ChatGPT. So keep that in mind. Now, with that said, I would start looking at your descriptions and trying to figure out a way to change them so that you can reflect this. Next is your title. You're allowed 140 characters when writing a title, and we often try to use as much space as possible. However, now it's kind of uncertain how much Etsy wants you to add. The reason I say this is because 4 of those articles, they emphasize on shorter titles. In one, it reads, your title should be short and easy to read. In another article, it states, focus on writing short, clear, descriptive titles that make it easy for shoppers who are scanning a busy search result. And in another, It's marked in bold, grab shoppers' attention with short, easy to understand titles. Now, I'm not entirely sure what this means, but on the app, only 27 of those 140 characters are displayed. And on your computer, only 43 of those 140 are actually shown. So are they moving into description style where it's minimized on the page and then you have to click see more to see the entire title? I'm not exactly sure, but it's something to note since it was mentioned multiple times. Another one is policies. Now, most of us have policies already set, but from time to time, I do stumble onto a shop that has zero policies. Etsy takes transparency very seriously, which also means clear and precise policies. So if you don't currently have this set up, I would work on it immediately. Since they point this out, make sure you have information about returns. Whether you offer them or not, they want to make sure that you have it set. Also, I would add a few FAQs to your page, such as what happens if an order is lost, can they add insurance, and what shipping providers do you use? Things like this will further add to your policies and brand as a seller on Etsy. The last thing I'm going to touch base on is pictures. With the recent algorithm changes, pictures are more important than ever. Now, you may have heard me say before, a consumer shops with their eyes. So this is nothing new. However, Etsy is now focusing on more realistic pictures. They want your product to stand out and show consumers this is a real item. They even say it. They want the real deal as the first image. Now, it's not entirely required yet, especially for POD, but I bet in the future it will be. And like it states, it's really geared at that first image. So if you haven't already, I would highly recommend taking a real picture of the items that you sell, or at least make sure that your mock-ups look real enough that the AI system is fooled and just goes right over it. I hope that this video helped clear up a few questions that you had. This honestly is the most changes I've seen on Etsy since 2021. And honestly, I feel like this is just the beginning, so expect more to come. If you have any questions, please leave them below. And thank you so much for watching. Talk to you soon.